Hey, Webby, try the reset button. Technology.
Yeah, right.
Qualifying, and he's at an event where, well, he's never won it in his Top Fuel career. What's in his favor? He holds the national ET record at Top Fuel with a 4:47, which he set in Joliet in conditions very much like the ones we have today.
There's also one other thing in his favor, Bill. He can control his own destiny. Second round possible matchup if both Larry Dixon and Kenny Bernstein advance in round number 1. And there is the right side of the equation. There is Doug Kalitta. Got a bunch of Godzilla, or Dougzilla t-shirts, I should say, from Doug Herbert, because his first round opponent is Clay Millican. Of course, last time Clay was in an opening round was back at Reading when we had the huge burn down between Herbert and Clay. A 410 light and a 458 at 320 miles an hour. And Kalitta, just like he did at Reading, is flying. ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports and the exclusive home of the National Hot Rod Association, presents the $50 million NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series. Today, from the Texas Motorplex in Ennis, Texas, just down the road a piece from Dallas, it's the 17th running of the O'Reilly Fall Nationals, and fall is the operative word. We had 85 degrees yesterday, and it was 2,400 feet of altitude. Now, we're in the 50s in the adjusted altitude. Well, basically, we're racing at sea level. It's going to be good. Hello again, everybody. I'm Marty Reed, and alongside a man who's won here in both Funny Car and Top Fuel, Mike Dunn, and we just saw our first pass, 458. I mean, you said it on NHRA today, records could fall.
Well, they definitely could. The conditions are optimum for good, fast runs. And basically, the crew chiefs are going to throw out their notes from Friday and Saturday here because they're not going to do any good. They're going to go back and look at some of the other races that they ran in these kind of conditions. The one thing being, though, they haven't had enough runs in these kind of conditions. They're probably going to be a little tentative in the first round, but if it stays this way, watching the later rounds to see some of those guys try to run those big numbers.
Yeah, if tentative is a 458, strap on, baby. Here we go. There is Corey McClenathan. We talk about guys who've had some success here at the Motorplex. Well, our Army driver profile on Corey Mack in 209 races. He's been to 40 finals with 26 victories, and 3 of those wins have come right here in 4 finals at the Motorplex. Of course, he was the first ever to go over 320 miles an hour. It was done right here back in 1997. Of course, he's going to have a tough go at it because he's going to go up against Tony Schumacher. And Tony, in 4 of the last 5 races, has either faced Corey Mack or Darrell Russell in the first round. He's not had an easy go of it.
Well, that's definitely not an easy choice anytime you got Darrell Russell or Corey. They're about the best, that in the business. Won a lot of races between those 2 drivers. But Tony Schumacher here, he's very good at staying focused and not getting too shook up. As long as that car comes down the racetrack, he's going to give Corey a race. Corey's ran good here, but he hasn't been very consistent. That car has not been down the track as many times as Corey would like. But like we talked about, the conditions are completely different, so you can forget about what you did in qualifying because now's the time to step up to the plate.
Well, these guys met 2 weeks ago back at Chicago in round number 1, and Corey won that matchup. The stripe, Corey Mack, another 450, 458 at 322 miles an hour, beats Tony's 460. So for 2 in a row, it's Corey Mack taking the win light. Yeah! Tony Pedregon is a man on a mission. The California native is devouring John Force's point lead. Pedregon won Reading, cutting the lead from 199 to 122. Next came Memphis, and another Tony win, pulling him to within 80. Finally, in Joliet 2 weeks ago, a 3rd straight victory and a deficit of only 18 points. Tony Pedregon goes for 4 in a row in the points lead today.
And you can change the question from will John Force let Tony Pedregon pass the champ to can the protege pass his mentor? The green light is on for the Castrol Syntec crew, and judging by the looks in their eyes, they are ready for the challenge. But the #1 qualifier and winner of 6 races, including the last 3, knows it's one thing to catch the king, passing him is yet another. They also know they can't do that by being conservative. They have to go out and earn it today.
Back here at the 17th running of the O'Reilly Fall Nationals, and you know, we talk about how John Force, Tony Pedregon, their teammates duking it out for this championship, but really they run 2 entirely different setups, and that goes all the way to the chassis. That's the subject of today's Track Fact.
Track Fact, brought to you by Suzuki Motorcycle.
To win 11 funny car championships in the NHRA, John Force and John Force Racing have depended on great teamwork, great equipment, and consistency. During those 11 championships, John Force has used the same Pluger chassis. The only time he changed, well, that was in 1992 when he lost the championship, coincidentally, to Cruz Pedregon. But this year, there's been a change in the John Force Racing camp. Starting at the Denver race, Tony Pedregon moved over to a Murph McKinney chassis. And Mike, when you've got 3 cars on a team, why would you run a different car, particularly mid-season?
Well, Parker, here at Team Force is all about research and development, trying to get that advantage over your competition. And they felt by trying a Murph McKinney car, they could learn some things to help them win another Powerade championship.
What are the differences in these 2 chassis?
Well, the most visual differences in the chassis is the front A-arms are a little bit thicker to help with the steering of the car. On top of that, you also have the steering arm that leads to the steering wheel. They made that thicker. The reason is as the body creates more downforce, a lot of times we'll see these cars drop a cylinder and wants to drive toward the center line. We found that the drivers were actually turning the wheel, but there was so much bend in the linkage going to the steering wheels that it wasn't actually turning the wheels, and the driver consequently was having a hard time keeping it in the groove.
Now, Tony Pedregon said this car is more responsive, and it's not only the chassis, but there's another element at work as well.
Well, this chassis was built specifically for Tony. Tony always basically had John's hand-me-downs were a little bit big for him. One of the main things is in the cockpit area, it's a smaller area, he's able to sit up straighter than he had before and able to see over the injector. They also took and moved the fire bottles to behind the driver to help with the balance. John has the fire bottles in front. This gets the center of gravity closer towards the rear tires, helps it transfer the weight and helps you get more traction leaving the starting line.
Consistency in racing is very, very important, but when you're chasing an NHRA championship, you also have to be willing to take a risk.
And as we take a look at the funny car ladder, we'll tell you that John tested Tony's car after Chicago. In fact, he ran both cars, ran a 4.799 in Tony's car and a 4.80 flat in his own. So it's pretty even. And there's the matchups. They can't come to head-to-head until the finals. Take a look at the points right now, and thanks to Tony's pole, he has cut 5 more. It's now down to 13 between he and John, and it is definitely a 2-man race from here on out, and you can see the rest of the top 10. Frank Pedregon and Johnny Gray will be our first matchup here in round number 1 of funny car action, and the K&N Flopper has not won a round since Sonoma. More on this in a moment, but Dave, I think you're with John Force.
I am with the King, talking things over with Austin Coyle, just getting out of a nice warm tow vehicle on this cool day. But let's talk about your race car and this racetrack. It's a pretty good relationship there.
Well, Austin tells me this morning, these conditions are excellent to make a car run big numbers. You don't want the car to shake. Well, we can learn from Tony when he runs and Densham ahead of us to see what we can get away with. I just hope all 3 cars do well.
A lot of people think there's pressure here, but you're really enjoying what's happened.
Oh, I'm enjoying it. Don't misunderstand Austin and I. We want to win, but either way, we win as a team. And right now, we got a lot of money invested with Castrol and Ford, and but we got a lot of heart right here in this group. And Coyle said he'll pull this out for me.
There you go.
Back out on the starting line. Last time we'll see the Haviland colors. It'll go back to the CSK blue car for Johnny Gray at Las Vegas in Pomona. Driver's race. And Frankie, the first to recover, 5.13 at 3.08. And like we said, he hadn't won a round since Sonoma, but he has now. And let's put a period on Top Fuel. Andrew Cowens with Bill.
Last time you qualified low in Memphis, the day ended in the 2nd round. I know you got higher hopes for today, Andrew.
Well, you know, it just went 4.57, and we went 55 in qualifying, and to come back in the first round and run that 57, it's just absolutely fantastic for this whole team and Mike Green. And I'd just like to say thanks for all these people and crowd and everything that be out here today, because I know I'm freezing. I mean, it's probably a day where I'm happy to wear this fire suit, you know, because I'm keeping warm. But thanks for the fans and everything, and and for the safety safari. I mean, it's just a really good racetrack, and hopefully, you know, we've got 3 more rounds today, you know, and I don't know, how hard can it be? You know, this team's overdue. Thanks.
Everybody's singing the praises of Mike Green over here, but it appears Mike will be back with the Blue Skull car next season.
Yeah, if you weren't with us, we'll give you more on that in a second. Let's take a look at this run. And first time we've seen tire smoke today.
Yeah, but Frank Pedregon did his job. He got into the tire shake, got it to back pedal, and got it to recover before it went into violent tire smoke, and did a great job to get that win.
So now we turn our attention to Johnny Gray's teammate. That's Del Worship, who is only, well, he's 8 points behind Gary Densham for 3rd in the Powerade Funny Car Championship points chase. Remember, you get 20 points per round, but he cannot take Bob Bodie lightly. Bodie upset Whit Bazemore in round 1 back in Chicago.
Yeah, and his crew chief, Glenn Mikers. I worked with Glenn before when I first started driving, in fact. So Glenn's been around for a number of years. Very capable, but they don't have the budget of some of the bigger teams, but they seem to be making what they have work, and he's been running pretty well lately. So, like you said, Del Worship can't take him lightly.
There's John Force, that very interested spectator. Problem for Del. 488 at 314 miles an hour. Let's take another look.
Just what Del Worship wanted to do. Got off the line first by 0.04 of a second. Bob Bodie got a little bit out of the groove and spun the tires. Del Worship stuck it right down through the middle. Wasn't overly aggressive. A 488 is not a bad run, but in these kind of conditions, you're definitely capable of running better than that.
Coming up when we come back, the points chasee, Tony Pedregon and Todd Payton. Time now for Tony Pedregon and Todd Payton, and word is on the starting line, they're having trouble bringing Todd's engine to life. And it has just fired. Now, Todd Payton back and ready. Played the role of giant killer. Remember when he came up in first round against John Force? John in the left lane, Todd in the right lane. And it was Payton, 530 to a 540, getting by right at the stripe. And you can see John having parts explosion problem. And he's had that problem until yesterday's second run. More on John a little bit later. But let's get more on Tony Pedregon right now from Dave Reef.
Well, I had a chance to talk with John Medlin right before they started the Castrol Syntec car, and he said the most crucial part of this run will be the first 120 feet, with the conditions so drastically changed from this weekend. He said that funny cars, especially on cool racetracks like this with narrow grooves, have trouble with about the first 120 feet. He says if they can get beyond that point, they're just going to go ahead and throw a fairly soft number down there, but the first crucial 120 feet will be key here.
And Dave, last night, Tony and his brother Cruz, the 1992 Funny Car champion, discussed all the possibilities about what could happen over these next 3 races. Some drivers are emotional, some are cerebral, and win or lose, Tony Pedregon is calm, he's prepared, and he's going after John Force for that championship.
The reality is, guys, this is like a final round from here on out when you're under 20 points. Problem. This is one bad hot rod. 482, 318 miles an hour. Todd was no factor in this one. Take another look at the Castrol Syntec Mustang of Tony Pedregon.
Well, when John Medlin talks about the first 120 feet, he's worried about tire shake. They got through the tire shake. They said the tune-up was a little bit soft, but still ran a 482. And they ran 257.8. That car's capable of running over 260, so they didn't throw everything at it.
Dave?
Told me the first 120 feet was crucial. You got right by it and moving on.
Yeah, it was okay. It was a little shaky there at 120 feet. We're real worried about it. Track conditions are excellent right now. You should see some real good numbers here in these cars.
Well, I'll tell you what, 482 isn't too shabby just to start out of the box. Next up, you're looking at the white cap Toyota, Bruce Sarver. There's Alan Johnson making the final adjustments. He'll be up against Dale Creasy.
Now, Alan Johnson is a guy that is not afraid to be very aggressive. He will probably show us what that track will be like, especially early in the run, because this car, he's changed his clutch combination. He's been very, very aggressive the first 330 feet.
And Bruce will be in the left lane. There's the Craftsman machine of Dale Creasy Jr. Dale this year has won 3 first rounds in 2002, but I'll tell you, the guys he's had to run against in round number 1, Bazemore, Cruz, Tony, Dencham, Force. I mean, it is a long, it seems like he gets the tough guys right out of the box.
Well, that's because he's been qualifying. When he does get in, he's usually towards the bottom of the field. But, you're going to run the tough guys when you do that. But that car's been steadily improving, and hopefully he can, step up to the plate here and make a good run and get a win.
Tony Pedregon's at the far end with Bill.
I've run out of questions.
What do you want me to say? I don't have any questions either. The question is if we're worried about John, we're thinking about him, and we're really not. There's a few other guys I got to get through, and if it comes down to it, I'll worry about John when we get there. Right now, I'm thinking about my little baby Sess. Andrea, I love you guys, and it was spinning the tires. These conditions are pretty awesome in the tracks there, and this thing's making some power, so maybe we can yank a little more out of it.
We were talking to the crew chief, John Medlin, yesterday, and they actually backed the car down during qualifying when it was running those low 480s. It's almost like this car is out of control, has a mind of its own, like Christine.
But Sarver, big puff of smoke as he goes through the lights at 308 miles an hour. Creasy was never a factor in this one. And you can see Bruce coasting it on out. Let's take another look.
Once again, very aggressive the first 330 feet. 875 and 60 and 227 to 330. Those are numbers good enough to run a mid 470. Didn't have it through the middle. The car started falling off a little bit. Don't know if that was part of the tune-up or if they actually maybe put a cylinder out. Looks like they were burning on the combustion chamber a little bit on the right-hand side. Dale Creasy, on the other hand, he left, got a little bit of tire shake, back pedals, then a cylinder goes out, and then you see the blower belt come off of that.
Yeah, it won't run without that rubber band. So we've seen a couple of 480 runs, and Whit Bazemore and Lee Beard, they always like to be low. And there's Dean Scusa. With Mike Dunn, Bill Stevens, Dave Reed, Parker Johnstone, I'm Marty Reed. We're glad you're with us here at the Texas Motorplex for the 17th running of the O'Reilly Fall Nationals. And before we get to our next matchup, as you take a look at the crowd here all bundled up, temperatures in the 50s and a brisk breeze at about 25 miles an hour, but it has lent itself for some great racing so far. There's Whit Bazemore and Dean Scusa. But first, let's check in at the far end, Bill.
What happened in there?
Oh, man. It was on a real fast run, about 800 feet. The tires just came completely apart, and I didn't know where I was at. I didn't know if I was going straight or what. It was just shaking so hard it like to knock me out. But this white cap Toyota Macro Tools car, we'll put some new hides on it, man. We'll be back up there.
You're getting beat up this year, man.
Oh, man, I can't believe it. Thank you.
So that big puff of smoke we saw was the tires actually breaking loose. I thought it might have been some engine damage.
And I'm sure that's why it drove him over towards the center line, and he actually crossed the center line past the finish. Now remember, you can't cross the center line before the finish line, but after is okay, and that's why he'll be in next round.
Dean Scusa, Whit Bazemore.
These are the kind of conditions that crew chief Lee Beard loves for his driver, Whit Bazemore. Let's see what happens.
Driver's race. Oh, and Bays blows it up, but he's going to win the race because Scusa lost the belt early, and there is Lee Beard. Bays trying to get the car stopped, and the safety safari quickly out onto the scene for both drivers.
Boy, this was ugly. Let's see if we can tell what happened. It probably went into some tire shake for Whit Bazemore. They tried to pedal it, and the thing exploded. You saw the burst panel in front of the body blow up, tried to save that body from splitting in half. Dean Scusa, on the other hand, he blew his up pretty much right off the starting line, and that was the end of his day.
And there's Lee Beard.
And Lee, you told me earlier that if you're willing to pull up the big boy pants, we'd see some big numbers. Maybe that set was a little too big for these conditions.
Well, the conditions are fantastic here, and the position we're in, we're not running for the championship.
So basically we're in test mode to try to come up with a combination that can beat the John Force team for next year. That was an awful aggressive setup. We thought the conditions were good enough where it would hold and we could run maybe a mid to low 70.
At least that wind light came on. That's all they really care about.
Well, as we take another look at it, you can see Bays has pedaled it 2-3 times and then finally kaboom. And we have been told that he has oiled the track and he is over the limit, so that is a 10-point deduction. But as they said, he's out of the running for the championship. But not that guy. He's up when we come back. Let's go back one more time to Whit Bazemore's run.
Lee Beard said he was going to be very aggressive. We don't see hardly any tire shake. There was a little bit right there before it started to go up, but that was not from being too soft. That was from being too aggressive. And we see Whit try to get the thing to recover, gets back in there, too much fuel in the cylinders, it backfires to the supercharger, and there goes the burst panel.
And let's go to Parker.
Well, Lee Beard said he was tuned up for a big number, but Whit, it looked like you had a busy right foot there.
Yeah, old Beard, he tuned her up for a big number, all right, but good job. But anyway, we got a great team, and the conditions are so tough this morning. It's the car just shook. It was in trouble early, and went out there and pedaled it a few times. Didn't like it. Had the rods out, blew up, and I tell you, as Mike will tell you, that last 8th mile when you don't have any power and you're ahead, it's the longest 8th mile in the world. It took forever to get to the finish line. Thank God Scusa had bigger problems.
And that sums it up, Dave.
Now, Parker, we might be looking at a little history coming in the making. Normally, championships are decided here at the Texas Motorplex, being so late in the season, but we could see a championship chase change points positions today. We just saw Tony Pedregon win. John Force watched it, ran immediately back to his car to get strapped in. Another good Dave Densmore stat for you. Only 9 times since 1990 has someone taken a points lead away from John Force. Tony Pedregon was able to do it here. Should John Force lose to Scotty Cannon, he would be the 10th. Scotty Cannon, awful tough customer for John in round 1.
And Dave Densmore is the PR man for John Force's racing operation, and if he loses, points lead changes that quickly. Time now for Force's teammate Gary Dencham, the defending event winner here in Funny Car at the Motorplex. Bob Gilbertson over in the right lane.
And we heard John talk about he wants to get all 3 of his cars in the top 3, so he's rooting as much for Gary Dencham. He wants to see him do good, but it's not going to be easy against Bob Gilbertson. Paul Smith seems to be getting a little bit better handle on that combination. We've seen more consistent runs, more in the high 480s. Hopefully he can make a good run here and take out Gary Dencham.
Dencham, another 482, 321 miles an hour. And John says, okay, I can deal with that. Gilbertson runs 5 flat at 305.
Boy, Jimmy Prock had a really nice tune-up on this car. It was not very aggressive early, just nice and smooth, and then it starts marching towards the other end. You see it gets over towards the center line, a little bit out of the groove, but the conditions are so good today, probably didn't get very much tire spin, especially to be able to run that kind of speed, 321 miles an hour at the other end. But this is a nice pass, just very smooth, not aggressive down low. That'll win you a lot of rounds, and then just start pouring on the steam towards the other end, run that big mile an hour, and you're into the second round.
All right, let's talk a little bit about pressure. I mean, this guy's been there so many times. Is he feeling it right now?
I don't think so. He's been there 11 times. And the other thing you got to remember, I mean, the guy that's chasing him is Tony Pedregon. I mean, and he loves Tony Pedregon. And I really think, I mean, John wants to win every race, but it's not the same as if it was Whit Bazemore or Del Worsham that was chasing him. I think John Force would be more up. They'd be more aggressive. Right now, they're just trying to figure their deal out and, let the chips fall where they may.
Well, and we've talked about the fact that if Tony wins, it's still a win for Ford and Castrol, and that's exactly the 2 biggest sponsors on John's car. So it's not like they're losing anything. Austin brings the car to life. Austin wanted it to rain today. He said, I got a wedding I've got to go to next week. If it rains out, then we'd have to come back here and I wouldn't have to go to the wedding.
I'm glad you said that, Marty.
Body's coming down. John's going to be in the left lane. Scotty Cannon over in the right lane. Remember, Scotty met up with John at the final in St. Louis. He hasn't been the same since because Scotty red-lit there.
Not to bring any levity to this very intense points situation, but right after John Force got done guaranteeing that Austin Coyle would pull him through, you should have seen the look on Austin Coyle's face. His eyes about bugged out of his head. It was unbelievable.
Well, let's see. John and Tony up top, and you're fighting for your life in third place, but that was a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I tell you, I mean, we got a good car. We've kind of struggled for the last few weekends with, just oddball stuff we're testing. But, hey, those Worsham guys are tough. But, we got all the resources of Ford and Castrol, and the Auto Club guys are here, and the Texas Auto Club guys are here. So, we got to do the best we possibly can. Remember, we're defending champs.
There's a big huddle down at Team Castrol this morning. They're all working together on this one.
Yeah, Gary, with that win, maintains his 9-point lead over Del Worsham. And take a look at this. Everybody that's chosen the left lane has won in the left lane.
And, I don't really think there is a big difference in the lane. So I just seem, a lot of times it's one of those things where you're running towards the back and everybody's taking that left lane. If you don't think there's any difference, you're going to take that left lane because you don't want to take the other one and have something happen and look stupid. But we saw Corey and Top Fuel win out of that right lane and run a 4:58. So we know the traction's there.
Low for the round, 319 miles an hour, and I'm looking for smoke, and I don't see any. Maybe 2 runs in a row where they haven't hurt that machine.
I think Austin and Bernie are getting back to the form that won them 3 straight races from Sonoma through Indy when they looked like they were going to walk away with this whole thing. You see, right before the finish line, you saw the flame pattern change a little bit. That's not a big deal. Austin Coyle isn't too concerned about that, but right about there, you saw that flame. Usually the cylinder head burning off a little bit. Went 3:19. They ran 3:21 yesterday, but that's still a great run for the first round.
Dave Reef.
Bernie Federley, Mike Dunn might have just said it best. We're starting to see this team come back and form a little bit.
Well, I hope so. We needed that kind of badly. It was an important round of racing for us. It's produced a pretty good ET, but the conditions are awful good today, so we're going to have to run good if we hope to get to the final.
Like you said, Marty, they're not breaking things.
Thanks, Dave. There's John. Let's go to Bill.
481, low for the round, smoking.
Good old hot rod. Austin Coyle starting to act like Austin Coyle, him and Bernie. Great bunch of guys are up against Scotty Cannon. You got to get after that kid. That's a good hot rod, and he didn't win all them NHRA championships for nothing. He knows how to race. So I'm just excited my old Heath starting to run like Tony's. But we always told everybody they're the same old Heaths that don't really make a difference. And it's a good old Pluger car I got here. Thank you.
By the way, last night in the heat of a points battle, John attended the Drag Racing Association of Women auction and bid some very generous bids on a number of items because that's the kind of guy he is.
And he was also named Man of the Year, and he was speechless. I know that's hard to believe. Now, let's go back to yesterday. See what Super Slow-Mo picked up on Ron Capps.
Watch in front of the body right here. You're going to see that thing start to collapse as it gets up to speed towards the finish line. Now, I guarantee you right there, that's got to change your aero package a little bit as far as the air going back to that rear wing.
Now the question is, does the team know that? Because we just picked it up after going back again. Here they go, the teammates. Oh, huge explosion for Capps. Ron Capps glances off the wall.
Boy, that was huge.
He can't see. The part of the body is right in front of him, and just hold your breath, folks. Safety Safari already there. There is Ed the Ace McCullough. Now, there's Don the Snake Prudhomme. And as the Safety Safari works, we'll take a commercial break and come back and get an update on Ron. Back here at the O'Reilly Fall Nationals, we have collectively been holding our breath, and we can tell you that Ron Capps is awake and alert. That is what's left of the back half of the body. And this was one of the worst explosions we have ever seen. Now, this was just a few moments ago. Ron climbing out under his own power with some assistance from NHRA Safety Safari officials, and there is Don the Snake Prudhomme. And let's go back and show you and see if we can see what happened. And we did see the body caving in again.
Well, Marty, I don't think that caused the explosion. I mean, it's only speculation at this point, but normally when you see an explosion of that magnitude, a crankshaft breaks. And what happens when the crankshaft breaks, it separates from the valve timing, and you have a few intake valves hung open. It fires that fuel in the manifold, which launches the supercharger off, and then also blows out through the bottom, blows the connecting rods through the bottom, out through the bottom of the block to cause an explosion of that magnitude. And the only other thing I could think that maybe might cause an explosion like that would be electrical, where somehow it misfired the engine completely with the intake valves open and launched everything out and blew the rods out. But a tremendous explosion, huge concussion that Ron Capps was feeling right there. Probably not dazed him pretty good initially. Didn't know where he was, obviously, because the body came back, hit him in the leg, or pieces possibly hit him in the leg. Couldn't see where he was going, brushed over to the wall.
All right, we're going to sit out and just listen. Watch the supercharger. The whole top half of the motor literally becomes shrapnel. And let's get a medical update, Bill Stevens.
Dan Brickey is the Director of Emergency Medical Services for the NHRA. Dan, you had a chance to see Ron and talk to him. How's he doing?
He's doing okay. He thinks that part of the body hit his knee. He was complaining of some right knee pain. They got him in the ambulance now, checking things out. Doesn't look serious, but we're going to evaluate it.
All right, they'll transport him, and we'll get an update in a little while.
Ron's wife, Shelly, is not here this weekend. And, Shelly, you can breathe again because your husband's going to be okay, it appears. In fact, Parker, are you with Ron?
I am. He just emerged from the ambulance. Ron, most importantly, how are you?
I'm all right. You know, Snake's been an advocate of having some of the safety things that kind of cover your legs in the funny cars because they're pretty exposed. And I never really worried about it that much till just now. And it was a weird vibration, the thing. I mean, it blew up like, we've been through blow-ups and fires, all the funny car guys have, but it blew up and it stunned me. And next thing I know, I had a lot of black in front. The firewall, I guess, had come back, and I thought I took my legs off. And I got on the radio with my crew guys because I couldn't see and I couldn't grab the brake handle. The body was in my lap and I couldn't breathe. It was pushing on me, and I knew the wall was coming up, so I just got my hands in there and kind of hung on. But I thought, man, I took my legs off. I couldn't feel them. They were numb, and it came back and hurt. My knees are pretty banged up, but other than that, and I'm sure Murph McKinney, who builds our cars, will come up with something to protect to all those funny car guys, man. It wasn't a pleasant experience, but I'm okay. Skull guys, you know, the good part is I guess Tommy won, so Skull gets to go on, but I don't know what happened to him. I never saw him out the window.
Now, we understand they're going to transfer you to another ambulance to go in for just precautionary x-rays?
I hope not. No, I don't.
Are you running away?
I got a bad, yeah. I have a bad feeling about hospital, so I think I'm okay. I'll go back later.
Is that the biggest explosion you've ever been in?
Yeah, that was...
tons, it looks like.
I haven't... Yeah, it was... I can't even explain it to somebody. It's unbelievable how it explodes, and then it takes you a minute to get your senses back, and then you realize you have no control because the body was pushed on me. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't feel anything. I thought my legs were gone, and then I'm trying to grab the brake, and the body's in the way of even grabbing the brake. All I could get to was my little radio on my steering wheel, and I'm screaming at Todd, our assistant crew chief, to help me. I just remember saying, Todd, help me. I can't see, I can't feel, I can't stop the car, and that was it.
Days like today, you're thinking about becoming a top fuel driver again?
No chance.
Well, there is Don the Snake Prudhomme with Ron Capps, and we're going to go to commercial break. Wow. That's all we can say. Glad he's okay. Here at the Texas Motorplex, you know, Jim Yates is a 13-year veteran of the Pro Stock class. The 49-year-old is a back-to-back champion and a winner of 24 national events. And right now, he's in the thick of one of the closest point battles in history. And Jim is this week's Powerade Profile.
Well, when I was in high school, worked my way through high school and college, I worked at my dad's gas station. So I spent a lot of time around cars. I started actually racing about the time I turned 18. I got a Torino Cobra Jet and went out to the local racetrack and did a lot of bracket racing down there. And once I started, I was hooked. You know, I mean, we were racing 2-3 days a week. As time went on, I was about 1988, 87. I bought an old Pro Stock car and put a big 700 cubic inch motor in it that I got from Ricky Smith and went to a local pro stock race. Qualified well and ended up being runner-up to Ricky Smith. First time I'd ever raced pro stock, and I said, man, I like this. I think I could do this.
Woo! Yes!
I'm a very focused and motivated individual. I want to be successful at what I'm doing. But what I've learned to do is to temper that somewhat and to realize, you know, especially after what happened last year at Memphis when we were fighting for the championship and I had the heart problem and they had to do an emergency angioplasty on me, you know, and I missed the race. And, you know, you realize that there are more important things in life than pro stock racing. This is the anniversary, basically, of when I came back after that surgery. And you realize, you know, when you go out and Tony and I go out and run in the morning or exercise and you feel like, wow, you know, a year ago I couldn't do this. A year ago I was, you know, really touch and go there for a little bit. And you realize how fortunate you are to be able to get up in the morning and go for a run and love your kids and enjoy life. The exercise has helped me tremendously. And I've worked up with there's an optometrist, an eye doctor that lives down there in Tennessee that's a real fan of mine. He brought to me a guy that builds a simulator for actually practicing hand-eye coordination. I've been working really hard on that. And that's helped my reaction times more than anything.
Red light. Edwards throws it away. Jim Yates has got victory number 1, and he cut another good light, a 4:61.
We're looking forward to the next number 1 qualifying round of the next race. And then we just take it a round at a time because you start looking too far forward, it's going to scare you. And it scares me to think about going into Pomona in a virtual tie, whether I'm a half a round ahead or a half a round behind, and have to go head-to-head for the championship with all that stuff on the line. You know, you just got to relax and go up there and know that it doesn't matter who you're racing, and go up there and know you can cut a good light and know you can drive that car. That's why you're here. You didn't get here by accident. You didn't get here by mistake. You got here by being good and consistent and just get in that car and go up there and drive it, whether it's first round at Pomona just for smiles or whether it's the final round and you're racing for the championship. Do the best you can.
How will Jim Yates do in first round action of Pro Stock? Well, come on back to the Texas Motorplex and find out. The factory hot rods are next. In Pro Stock, the first 9 races yielded 9 different winners, leaving the points race wide open. However, in the last 9 races, Jake Coughlin has dominated the field, winning 6 times, and has taken control as we head into the final 3 events. Take a quick look at the ladder. Arrow indicates who has lane choice. Ron Krischer, the only former event winner on the left side, but boy, is it stacked up on the right side. And here is Greg Anderson, left lane. Bruce Allen in the right lane. Must-win situation for Greg. Third the points. Bruce with 200 in the bank. But something happens to Allen, and Greg goes 682 at 202, and his championship hopes are still alive.
Boy, Greg Anderson was going home. Bruce Allen had him covered. 200s off the start. By the 8th mile, he had picked up another 200s, but then obviously something went wrong. Probably lost 5th gear or something. Power went away, and lucky for Greg Anderson, he was able to drive by it into the second round.
So as we get ready for Jim Yates' run, let's take a look at the points coming in to today's action. 68 behind Jake Coughlin. Greg Anderson has already laid down the gauntlet by winning his first round and on down through the top 10. Time now for Jim Yates, and he's been having problems getting the back half, which means the top end speed. His low numbers have been good to half track. He's got Tom Hammonds, a guy who went to the finals here last year, over in the right lane. And Hammonds has problems off the line, and Yates goes 681 at 201 miles an hour to keep pace with Greg Anderson, who's with Bill.
That could have been bad. That was about the ugliest run we made all year right there. 2,000 foot of weather change, and obviously we did not make the right changes, man. We got to regroup here, or we're just going to be going home early. Track okay? Track is not very good for the weather you got right now, and you got to make changes for it. We did. They lucked out.
And now back at the starting line, we get ready for Jake Coughlin, the points leader, and he's backing up. And as he continues that process, let's check in with Bill. He's with Jim Yates.
Jim, you concur with Greg Anderson. The racetrack, it's a little spooky down there.
It was real nice in the first 3 gears. After that, it was hold on, man. It was just side to side, just spinning and shaking. Key is I stayed in the middle of the groove, so I didn't have to lift like a lot of cars did, but it kept trying to get out and just moving the steering wheel like that. It's like riding a Bronco down here in Texas.
Lane choice a factor today?
But it was a huge factor the first couple of pairs. I mean, nobody got down the right lane. Mike Edwards, I got to race him. He went 82 in the right, so that's not a good sign. He seems to be getting down, and that's all that matters.
Here we go.
Yeah, here we go is right because Jeg has seen both number 2 and number 3 in the points win already. He has a 68-point lead over Yates, and he's got George Marnell, who is no slouch on the tree. 200s for Jeg. And the points leader marches on. 681 at 202.
With a 681.7, 202.06.
Take another look.
Well, we're going to see Jeggy on board here going through the gears. Now, you got to remember, they were talking about the cars getting loose down on the other end. That's a characteristic of this all-concrete racetrack when it gets cool. No downforce on these Pro Stock cars. They're a real handful if you get them out of the groove on the other end.
And he's going to have lane choice by 1/100th over Greg Anderson. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, Marty, we're back here in the pit area. Ron Capps is back still taking things in as you get a look of what is left of the Skoal Camaro funny car body. Just to give you an idea, this is a pile of what was left. That is a full-size body, so you can see how this car has been absolutely diminished. And these, keep in mind, are only the big pieces. There are still a lot of smaller pieces laying all up and down the return road. Pretty incredible stuff here.
And Dave, I'm on the other side of the Don Pedregon camp with the Top Fuel team. After Larry Dixon's big crash at Memphis in the year 2000, in which he suffered leg injuries, the team came up with an idea to cover the inside of the chrome moly tubing inside the cockpit with carbon fiber panels. What that helps do is spread out the load on the side of the legs in case of an accident, so you don't have any pinpoint injuries against a particular tube like Ron Capps did during his accidents. Innovative idea. It's one of the only cars that I've seen this nice piece of carbon fiber laid in, but after accidents like Ron Capps, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more protection within these cockpits.
Well, yeah, and that's right, Parker. And one of that came from actually when Tony Schumacher had his crash in Memphis. It broke his leg, and they attributed it to that not being that way and hitting one of those diagonals or cross members and breaking his leg. But look at the damage to that Skoal body. I mean, that was just an unbelievable explosion. We haven't seen many of those since we switched to the 90% rule, but I'll tell you what, that was definitely devastating.
And looking at that mess, it's amazing he wasn't more seriously injured. How about round 1 of Pro Stock? Gene Wilson, Tommy Lee. Wilson left lane, 684, 202. Lee had problems, was not a factor. Then watch Kurt Johnson in the left lane. He is going to run the second fastest speed ever in Pro Stock history, and he goes low for the round. 679 at 203.94. Larry Nance was not a factor in this one. Brad Jeter, Tom Martino, and this one it got a little ugly. Jeter, as Martino fouls, he coasts on through at a 763. Then Warren Johnson, closest to you, left lane. He throws away the second quickest time of the session, 6.795. Second quickest speed, fastest speed at 203.43. Mike Edwards gets his 10th whole shot win of the year with a 682. And then Steve Schmidt gets a solo run. Ron Krischer was late to the line. They shut him off, 682 at 202. So here's how the ladder shapes up in Pro Stock. Some big matchups. Schmidt and Wilson, KJ and Jeter, but over on the right side, Jag Coughlin, Greg Anderson, a must-win for Anderson, and Jim Yates and Mike Edwards. We've got to take commercial break. Those are the Top Fuel drivers, and Top Fuel's coming up next when we come back. Round 21 of 23 of the NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series at the O'Reilly Fall Nationals. And as we get ready for second round of Top Fuel, let's go back and revisit Ron Capps' frightening crash. I mean, this was the worst one we have seen in a long, long time. Car literally explodes. You can hear the parts, the shrapnel actually, and take a look in slow motion. Unbelievable, the force. I mean, the whole top half of the motor is literally shredded, and that's what was banging into Ron's legs. And you can see he was able to get out of the car. He was in some pain, but he was conscious and alert, and that's what's left of the motor. And literally the whole top half is gone. Now listen. And there come all the parts. This is just unbelievable.
This is a tremendous explosion. You know, watch the front of the motor. If we can stop it right there, look at that. There's a supercharger. One half of it. There's the other half. It's split right down the middle as that supercharger gets launched off. And then the body is going to be pushed back towards Ron. Right there, there's a piece of the manifold coming off of it. And there's, you see the body coming back. And the concussion from an explosion like that is just tremendous. It'll knock the wind out of you. And Ron at that point is just trying to get his bearings, trying to figure out where he's at. And if you look, you can see Ron's helmet right there. Obviously, he can't see where he's going. He's trying to figure out what's going on right now. He can't reach the brake handle, and that allowed the car to keep rolling and brush against the wall because obviously he couldn't see what was going on.
Well, and we forget about how fast he was going because we're in super slow-mo, but he said he couldn't breathe because that body part was literally pushing against his chest. So everything was working against him, but somehow he comes out of it okay. Take a look now as we get ready for round 2 of Top Fuel. Arrow indicates who has the lane choice. Andrew Cowan and Larry Dixon in the big showdown with Kenny Bernstein. And Doug Herbert over Corey Mack and Rhonda Hartman over Darrell Russell. In fact, that's going to be who we're going to see first. And Rhonda, no surprise, she's going to take that left lane. Everybody seemed to have success with it in round number 1.
Boy, Rhonda's looking very good this week, and the car's been running very consistent. She's ran good all year, but she hasn't enjoyed the kind of consistency we've seen her have today. Darrell Russell on the other lane, though, in the first round, he was on a very, very good run. Had probably the best numbers of 330. Then something went away and the car slowed down, but luckily enough, he still ran good enough to get the win. He's going to have to get that thing to run all the way to the finish line if he wants to be Rhonda Hartman the way she's been running today.
Well, they haven't met since Denver of last year, and Darrell won that matchup. Advantage off the line, but Rhonda goes 466 at 307. John is happy. She drives around Darrell, and she's going to the semifinals for the first time since Englishtown.
Watch you, my friend. You're a happy guy. How about that?
Now, man, that was great. You know, we're trying really hard. It put a hole out and picked it back up. Man, she did her job on the start line, and, man, we're just lucky to be here. Thanks, Fran, Preston. We're signed on for next year. Officially, we're saying it right now. It'll be out Tuesday, but, hey, let it all out of the bag right now.
Now they're heading to the semis. Good job, guys.
Well, he talked about a hole going out and then coming back.
Let's see if we can tell where it went out. What he's talking about, the cylinder goes out and then relights it, which you see it right there. Cylinder's out. Then let's see if we can tell if it goes there again. Then lit it back up. And look at the car move when it did that. Accelerated the car when that cylinder lit back up. Got all 8 cylinders, 263 miles an hour through the 8. Still ran a 466, but it was all she needed because Darrell Russell put a cylinder out right at the hit of the throttle like Rhonda, but unlike Rhonda, he didn't pick it up, and that allowed Rhonda to get the win.
Take another look.
Yeah, watch on the left side of Rhonda's car. You see the cylinder go out, and then you're going to see it right there. Picks it back up, and the car makes a little bit of move because that added horsepower right there, and that allowed her just to pull away from Darrell Russell into the semifinals.
And now it is crunch time. Larry Dixon, the Miller Lite top fueler against the Budweiser King of Kenny Bernstein. And, well, the last 2 matchups, Dixon won at Memphis in round 3. At Indy, Dixon won that one on a hole shot. He's 6-2 over Kenny, but this is imperative. Bernstein must win this round. The points difference, 128. There are 11 rounds of racing left. There isn't anybody really sitting down in the seats right now because everybody knows just how important this is. Let's quickly go to Bill.
Rhonda, I understand you're romantically linked with your crew chief. I know you're going to give him a big kiss after that one.
I definitely will. My whole family's done a great job with this frame team, and we're just excited to go rounds and have some good laps at this racetrack. It's been good to us, so we're excited.
To the semis and the debrief.
Tell Marty to follow up on what you were talking about for Kenny Bernstein. Remember, this is the championship that last year went all the way down to the final race of the year of Pomona. Well, Kenny Bernstein wants to be in that position again. He absolutely absolutely, unequivocally needs to take out Larry Dixon, a guy who's really got no pressure in this race. All of the pressure firmly on that red car. Biggest round of the year in Top Fuel right now.
Well, let's take it one step further, Dave. Kenny Bernstein wins this round, goes on to win the race. He cuts the points lead down to 68. If he loses this round, it's 148, and Dixon's still marching on. That's how huge this round really is right now. KB's already pre-staged. Advantage Bernstein, and the championship is not over yet. 460, 321 to a 466 and an identical 321 miles an hour, Dave Reef.
It ain't over yet, Tim Richards. You guys owe that blue car big one.
Yeah, I'd love to do it for the boss, you know. He's really a good guy and a great driver, and that was a big run for us. It means that the year keeps going on, whatever that is.
Crowd absolutely loving that. You could hear the cheering. There was people on their feet from the moment those cars fired, guys.
The lead is down to 108. Take another look.
This was huge for Kenny Bernstein. 0.03 of a second off the starting line. He did his job there. Tim Richards did his job on the tune-up. No difference in the lane. He ran a 460 at 321 miles an hour. Larry Dixon was never in this. That car was soft right from the hit of the throttle, and all he could do was sit and watch Kenny Bernstein. Once it carried the front, it wasn't too soft up the starting line. He didn't have that great of a 60-foot, 875, but maybe he carried that a little bit too far, made the numbers look soft, but he obviously didn't run through the middle. His 8th mile speed was down, and all he could watch was that Budweiser car advance to the semifinals.
And there's the handshake. Only the second win today in Top Fuel in the right lane, Bill.
And it breaks a string of defeats to Larry Dixon that goes back several races as Kenny Bernstein about to get the helmet off. KB, how about a 4:52 reaction time and a 4:60 to 4:66 win?
Great race. That's a tough team over there. A great race team. LaHaye and Dixon. I think Dixon's one of the best drivers out here. At 52, I think Timmy helped me on that, to be honest about it, but I was certainly pumped up. Bud King, Lucas Oil, it's just a good one. Just keep this thing going, and as Larry just came over and told me, to be continued.
Boy, ain't that the truth.
For Don Perdome, a chance for your team to kind of close the door, but I guess if you're a fan, it continues on. We're rolling on to the next race.
Yeah, of course, you know, it's not an easy thing to do. Both cars are so evenly matched, it can go either way. So, yeah, it'll be a fight right to the end. I always said that.
I don't think Don Perdome was surprised by that at all. He's been in many dogfights in his career.
Larry Dixon, as he has a smile on his face, knowing that the war will continue. Take a look at the tightest Top Fuel title battles. 1981, Jeb Allen by 31 over Gary Beck. Dick LaHaye knows what it's like. Joe Amato with 42 points the difference there. And you can see right now in 2001 when it was KB and Larry. Now, Andrew Cowan and Doug Coletta. Coletta has been one of those guys who could play a key role in this. This is a hot race car, and Andrew Cowan running real strong right here in the cool weather. Whoa, baby! Coletta runs 4:56 at 3:23. You heard the boom. 4:61 for Andrew Cowan. A great side-by-side race. Let's quickly go to Bill.
Larry, it's like baseball. Fastball pitcher, fastball hitter. One's got to win, one's got to lose. That's what just happened.
Well, that's what happens. I mean, the championship's won over an entire season, not just one race or anything like that. You know, been nice to win that round, but you know what? I mean, it's just like baseball. You know, we got 2 more races left. There's 8 rounds of racing left, and we're going to go out there and give it our best shot. And I'm going to try and not get run over here so I can continue this in Las Vegas. Thanks.
Thank you.
And there is the end of the run. Let's take another look.
Great side-by-side drag race. Doug Coletta and Connie Coletta have a good handle on these cool weather conditions. You see Andrew Cowan explode the engine just before the finish. Up to that point, look at Doug Coletta. He launches the front and picked it up a second time and ran her down the racetrack for a good win.
Coletta goes 4:58 in round 1, 4:56 in round 2, and let's move it on. Just some of the large crowd here at Ennis, Texas at the Motorplex for the O'Reilly Fall Nationals. Time now for our final Second round matchup. Doug Herbert, Corey McClenathan. They're 6th and 7th in the points. Corey is 6th, Doug 7th. They're separated by just a little more than 3 rounds of racing. What's interesting is Wes Cerny is consulting on both of these race cars. Corey Mack hurts it, but he gets a 460 as Herbert falls off to a 471 after going low in the opening round with a 455. He runs a 471 here at 314. So Corey Mack moves into the semifinals, and he will be up against Rhonda Hartman as Corey will have the lane choice in that one. Here's the lane choice for Doug Kalitta over Kenny Bernstein. Didn't seem to bother Bernstein against Dixon, so maybe it won't make a difference in the semifinals. There's the other matchup by 6 100ths. Corey over Rhonda. Funny car action, second round when we come back to Texas. Back here at the O'Reilly Fall Nationals with Mike Dunn, Bill Stevens, Dave Reed, Parker Johnson. I'm Marty Reed. Glad you're with us. Funny car ladder for round number 2. Tony Pedregon has the lane choice over Tommy Johnson. Del Worsham over his former teammate Frank Pedregon. John Force over Bruce Sarver. And Gary Dixon over Whit Bazemore. We're all ready to go already here with Del in the left lane, Frank in the right lane. Good race. Oh, and at the stripe, Del Worsham, 490 at 305 to a 492 for Frank at 308. And the former teammates, the last time they met was in the semis back at Denver. And boy, they put on a good one here.
Great side-by-side race. Frank Pedregon had 15 thousandths of a second off the starting line over Del Worsham. Almost was enough to hold him off, but not quite. Del was able to come by at the other end just to get the finish, to get the win.
Well, Del won that one back in Denver. He wins this one here, and he had to do it from half track on as the arrow indicates who was leading at that point on the racetrack. Let's put a period on Top Fuel. Corey Max with Bill.
Corey Max had a lot of fun at this racetrack. Last few races slumping a little bit, so we figure if you're going to have a turnaround, why not here?
Well, that's exactly it. We've been a little slumped. We've had a few motor problems and definitely driver problems. It's just been one of those deals. I'm honest about it. When I don't do my job, that's the way it is. But I'll tell you, everybody's come together here this weekend. New deal on the car with Berryman Products. They're right here in Dallas. I'll tell you, the products are awesome. This is a place for them, and we're having a great time with them this weekend.
The people from Berryman may play a role in Corey Mack's racing future in 2003.
And Bill, I ferreted out the problem that led to the massive destruction during Ron Capps' last run. Now, normally, the intake and the exhaust valves are secured within the cylinder heads through a series of retainers and keepers. What happens, these small keepers go on the top of the valve stem, and then with the help of the valve springs are secured within those retainers. Normally, then the intake valve opens, a pre-measured amount of fuel goes into the cylinder heads, that valve closes, the spark plugs ignite, piston pushes down, crank rotates. Well, what happened on this last run is that retainer failed, allowing the valve stem and the keeper to go through the top of the cylinder head. The intake valve then came completely open, and instead of just igniting the fuel in the combustion chamber, it ignited everything in the combustion chamber, the intake manifold, as well as the blower. Essentially, when those spark plugs fired, it ignited a 6,000 horsepower bomb. The problem started here and ended up with the total destruction of the bodywork and the engine.
And normally you don't see that big of an explosion just from one intake valve dropping and causing that to happen. But the problem is with cool conditions, these teams are running a lot of fuel volume in that manifold trying to make that horsepower, which makes a bigger bomb when it does go bad.
You're looking now at Whit Bazemore, a guy who won here as a car owner back in 1996. If you remember, Dale Poldy was driving back then for Baze. He was recovering from a pretty wicked motorcycle accident. The guy in the other lane, Gary Dixon, well, he just happens to be last year's winner here. The overcast skies still abound. Cool temperatures, stiff breeze. Here we go. Round 2, funny car. Densham had to drive around him. A 489 for Bazemore at 293. You saw Whit having problems. Whit got off the line 6 100ths quicker than Gary, but Gary goes 480 at 322. And so one of the 3 John Force team cars has moved on, and there is John, and he'll be coming up when we come back here to the Texas Motorplex. That's right, Big Daddy was here this weekend, but you weren't with us. He didn't make the show. go back, and you can see Bazemore having problems right coming through the lights.
Yeah, right there at the finish line, you can see the burst panel from the supercharger. Obviously, it backfired. Launch that panel out there, which is there to prevent the body from breaking in half. Unfortunately, when you have a situation like Ron Capps where the explosion is so big, there's just not enough area there to let that explode, that concussion out.
And let's start talking championship again. Remember, it is 13 points. John Force leads, but he has never lost this year to Bruce Sarver. He is a 6-up in 6 races.
But Bruce Sarver's got his best chance ever. This car's been very, very good early in the run. They get it to run on the other end. They got a good shot at taking out John Force because he ran as quick as 479 this weekend.
John's in trouble. And just at the stripe, Alan Johnson's car, you heard the kaboom. 494 at only 266, but John could manage only a 513. And guess what, folks? Tony Pedregon, with this next round, could take the points lead if he wins the race.
Boy, this is the same thing we've been seeing with John Force. He can run the big numbers, but then he comes up there and he has some engine problems. Let's see if we can tell what happened here. A little bit of tire shaking. There you see the cylinder going out right on that side over there. And that pretty much ended its day. As it went down the track, it probably got worse and worse, started eating itself up, and that allowed Bruce Sarver, even though he wasn't making the perfect run, he was still able to get the win.
Dave Reeves?
Held down with Bernie Federley right before Tony Pedregon does his burnout. Bernie, that was big, as we're going to wait for Tony real quick, guys. It's on my back door. Hold on.
Yeah, no sense getting your ears blown off. As well as everyone else's at home, as we blow out all your speakers in your living room. Tommy Johnson's going to be in the other lane, and as soon as he gets done, now we'll go to Dave.
Bernie thought we had a car that looked like it was making the turnaround, but it wasn't being that run.
Yeah, we had a gremlin there. We've been dropping cylinders early in the run, and that's cost us a lot of early rounds, and that's what happened again today.
Well, it's Bruce Sarver's engine. You got oil coming out of it. There's fire. The belt's hanging off. Looks like Jethro's truck on the Beverly Hillbillies, but you're a spoiler.
Wow, I mean, it was on one heck of a run, this Macco Tools White Cap Toyota. Matt Lucas, all the guys, I thought it was, I mean, you wouldn't believe how fast it was. And all of a sudden, boom, right in the lights, flash of fire. And I was just cringing. I was hoping he wasn't going to drive by me, but Tony probably likes me right now.
That guy hasn't had a boring run all season.
That's the first time he has ever beaten John in his career now, so Sarver could play a key role in the points championship chase. Here's Tommy Johnson Jr. These two guys, you'd think maybe that Tony Pedregon might have the advantage. They actually are dead even in 8 matchups.
Tommy Johnson's a very good driver, very good on the lights, very consistent. They dropped a cylinder in the first round, fell off, didn't run the final number they need. They're going to have to be able to get that thing on 8 cylinders if they even want to have a shot at beating Tony Pedregon.
In the lights, guess what? John Force is still your points leader. Tommy Johnson with the whole shot. 489 to a 485 by Tony Pedregon, but he had 4 100s in the bank off the starting line, and that was all he needed.
Boy, what a huge upset. Tommy Johnson had the whole shot. Just over 1,000th of a second difference at the finish line. TJ did his job. Wow, look how close that is.
Let's go to Dave Reed.
Well, John Medlin threw his hands up in the air when he saw that number come up on the scoreboard, especially in comparison to the other one. But unfortunately, that wind line turned on the other side due to the whole shot.
Yeah, that's sometimes just the way it works out. Those guys are great competitors, and we can't slide our team anywhere at all. We had good performance all weekend. Tony did a great job. They just pulled one on us that time.
The win streak may be over, but Tony Pedregon still got about the baddest hot rod out here, guys.
And the points are going to stay at 13 between first and second. And Tommy Johnson Jr. with his 4th whole shot win of the year has the lane choice over Del Worship. And the other semifinal, it'll be the defending event winner, Gary Densham, over Bruce Sarver. Bill?
With John Force, he's shaking his head in disbelief. Tony loses on a whole shot just a moment after you lost to Bruce Sarver, John.
That never happens to Tony. Maybe something there broke concentration. My heap just come apart. I thought Tony had already won. I thought he was ahead of me. And I saw whatever. We're all on the same team. I tell my guys, only one we got left is Dencham in that AAA heap. So, damn, let's pull this thing out. We'll be fine. Give some fans some racing next week in Vegas.
We'll get Tony in just a moment.
All right, thanks, Bill. We'll take a commercial break and come back here to the Texas Motorplex. That's right. Pro Stock next. Back here at round 21 of 23 of the NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series, and talk about opportunities lost. That would sum up Tony Pedregon's days. Let's check in with Bill.
A disgusted Tony Pedregon. Who would have expected you to run a 485 and lose, Tony? Your lights have been spectacular for the last 4 races.
Well, I'm not too disgusted. I think one of the things you need to understand in this business is you got a quick car, you're the quickest out here, and occasionally guys understand that. They'll throw the kitchen sink at you, sometimes with nothing to lose, and a lot of the times the drivers, they're going to take shots at you all day, and occasionally they're going to land one. So not discouraged at all. This will make me better going to the next race. We do not lose any ground. We gain on John. That's the whole idea. And hey, believe me, there's been a lot. I've had a lot of courage, a lot of heart to get me to this part. And got a good family at home. I'm going to take a couple of days off. Not even that. I'm just going to go see them and try a little harder next time. That's all there is.
The sport's most unlikely points race continues until Las Vegas.
And as we said before, it stands at 13 right now. How about round 2 at Pro Stock? Steve Schmidt left lane, Gene Wilson in the right lane, and the Mopar Dodge 683 at 202 beats a 684 at 201, and Gene Wilson moves on to the semifinals. Then Jag Coughlin, Greg Anderson. Greg needed this, but look at the light. Anderson cuts a 412. Jag right behind him at a 422. Did Anderson win? No. It was a 681 to a 682, and Jag has basically crushed Greg Anderson's hopes of winning a championship. Take another look from on board. Through the gears. And Jag Coughlin, who has won 6 of the last 9 races, you never see over on that left side or the right side because of the camera angle, but here is how close it is at the finish line. 38 ten-thousandth of a second. That's all the difference at the stripe. Could Jim Yates keep pace? He's in the left lane. Again, look at the light. Yates cuts a 420. Mike Edwards a 449, and Yates runs identical ET, 6.813 at 202, and Jag will get the lane choice by mile an hour. And then, watch this, Kurt Johnson. He lowers the track record to a 678, and he goes again, second fastest speed, 204.03. Kurt Johnson may be the car to beat here in Pro Stock today. Here's the matchups. KJ with a big advantage over Gene Wilson. And then by speed, it is Jag Coughlin over Jim Yates. Top Fuel semifinals, Corey McClenathan and Rhonda Hartman-Smith. And Rhonda has only ever beaten Corey once in 11 matchups, and she's had a problem and is out of the race car. Right on the burnout, something let go. We'll take you back and show you left lane, driver's left, and it's on fire. So you can see the flames. Here we go. Take a look, Mikey.
Yeah, it's hard to tell what happened right there. I mean, the fire's coming back from the back of the barrel valve area where the fuel line goes, but I couldn't exactly tell where the fire originated.
So Corey gets a free ride. He's going to save the parts. He just gets off the line and coasts it on out, and he'll go to his first final since Denver of this year. And you can see the frustration on Rhonda Hartman-Smith's face. Had she been able to go, well, she would have been in her first ever final, but that'll have to wait till another day. What about the Pro Stock Titanic matchup in the semifinals? Let's get a preview. Parker.
The big semifinal matchup in Pro Stock. Jag Coughlin, Jim Yates. Jag, you're one of the coolest drivers I think I've ever seen. The points championship on your mind coming to the line?
You know, I mean, it's a big round. You know, Dallas is a big race for us, and the points championship is on the line. So there's a lot at stake, but, you know, I think this yellow and black's running extremely well, and we're up for the game.
The man he faces is with Dave Reef. Dave?
Jim Yates up for the game as well, but you can't let this one get away.
No, you can't let this one get away. The points chase right now is so close, and we just got to go up there and run our lane. The split fire Grand Dam's running really good today, and I think we got a win in her.
Car is coming around.
Let's go back out on the starting line, see what happened on that burnout one more time. Look at the flames shooting out of Rhonda's car. As boy, it just was a mess. Let's get more from Parker.
Marty, I'm with team owner and tuner Virgil Hartman. What happened, Virgil?
It looks like the spark plug was left loose, and it came out when she hit the throttle for the burnout and started a fire in there and wouldn't have been able to make the run.
Ouch. Dave?
You can see the disappointment in Rhonda's eyes. And Rhonda, this is something that's happened to this team like 3 times this year where you've had a problem, team smoked the tires, and an opportunity's missed.
Yeah, we just haven't gotten it all together, and it's a shame because this Fram team was working hard, and the car was running really well. And it's really disappointing to see Corey Mack shake the tires there, and we weren't against him. So pretty disappointed. We should have been in the final.
They deserved it.
And that brings us to our other semifinal. Will it be Doug Kalitta or will it be Kenny Bernstein going on to the final? And there is KB. And Kalitta has lane choice, and for the first time today, we're seeing the person with the lane choice take the right lane.
Well, that's interesting. Actually, Corey ahead of him had lane choice, and he chose the right lane, but that was because the previous 2 rounds when he didn't have lane choice, he ran in that right lane, so he felt more comfortable. Doug Kalitta, on the other hand, has made very good runs in the left-hand lane. Obviously, crew chief Connie Kalitta saw something he liked in that lane, moved him over there, and we'll see what happens.
And you can see it's starting to even up more and more as the day goes on. It's now 8-5 in favor of the left lane. There is Connie. KB looking to go to his 115th final, 10th of this year. And for Doug, well, he's looking to go to his 3rd final in the last 3 races. And we talked about him the last couple of races being the spoiler, and he certainly could do it for Bernstein. Remember, in the points championship, he's cut the lead over Dixon down to 108. But he really needs to take about 2 rounds per race off of that lead to have a chance going into Pomona.
He's going to have his work cut out trying to get around Doug Kalitta because that car's been on a string, and we've seen him like at Maple Grove in Chicago when he was on all day, 450s consistently. But Kenny Bernstein, he's been really good on the lights. Very consistent reaction times, a 460 in the first round, a 450 in the second round. He's going to need it against Doug Kalitta.
Opportunity to close the gap to 88. It will stay at 108. It was ugly, but Doug Kalitta gets to the line first, and he's going to his 3rd straight final, 4th of 2002.
Both cars left identically. They both spun the tires about the same place, and by half track they were still side by side, but Doug Kalitta got his to recover, and that was the difference. He was able to pull away toward the finish and get the win.
Dave Reef?
Now, sometimes Tim Richards is not meant to be, and didn't look like that one was.
No, it's a real difficult deal. These tires are just beyond what the track will accept sometimes, and it's a shaken situation when you have on a really good track, and you're at the mercy of whatever happens.
Bottom line is you guys did gain some points, so.
And here is the final round matchup. Kalitta, believe it or not, with a 546, will have lane choice over Corey Mack. So hopefully Funny Car's going to be a little more devastatingly performance-wise, but you can see what happened to Bernstein as he just was not able to get it down the track. And another opportunity lost. Stay with us. Will it be Tommy Johnson Jr., the hole shot king of 2002, or Del Worship going to the final? As these 2 guys back up, let's hear from Kenny Bernstein. He's with Bill.
Kenny just got out of the car, obviously upset, trying to cool off, looking for Doug Kalitta to offer a handshake, but a little bit, Kenny, could have been more. Not today.
Yeah, it's a tough way to go. I just... you know, it just rattled real hard, knocked them loose, and I was just playing catch-up. I wish I'd done a couple of things a little better in there, but I was a little behind on it. I didn't expect it, and I should have expected it. We've been having trouble with it, so I should have anticipated a little bit, but it left so hard I thought we were through it, and then it just rattled them loose. So it's the way it goes on those days, unfortunately. Didn't make up much ground today. This was our chance. Indeed.
And Dale Worsham, you saw the problem for Tommy Johnson Jr. as Dale goes 485 at 312. And for Tommy Johnson, he bows out and is not going to make it to the final. Let's take another look.
Well, this was a good run for Dale Worsham. Almost 300s off the starting line over TJ. You see TJ right there. He had a problem. Something backfired through the supercharger. Luckily, it wasn't as bad as Ron Capps' in the first round. We saw the burst panel go out there. But this was a nice run for Dale Worsham. 485, 312. That's what he's going to need to do because the track conditions are still good. Even though we saw Kenny Bernstein and Doug Collette smoke the tires, I got to believe the conditions are still pretty good.
Yeah, and Dale has now beaten TJ the last 6 times that they have met. He's going to his first final since Memphis. So Dale Worsham trying to keep pace for that 3rd spot in the championship.
Dale Worsham beginning to sink in. You could leave this race in 3rd place.
Unbelievable. I'll tell you what, my dad and the entire team, I can't say enough for what they did. You know, the car hasn't really been on its game all day. That run there, our quickest run of eliminations going into the final round. I feel great about that. You know, Checker Trucks, Pontiac, and all of our sponsors. Finally, I'm on TV for you. Woo!
He will be watching with great interest this next race with Densham.
And will it be Gary Densham, the man who won this race last year here, or Bruce Sarver going to the final? And there is the white cap Toyota. It will be in the right lane. Sarver's last final back at Seattle, which was actually the last time Bruce beat Gary. And Gary's last final, there he is in the left lane. That was back at Brainerd, Minnesota. And as these two back up, let's get more from Dave Reed.
Some very nervous, intense moments a little bit ago for one of Alan Johnson and Bruce Sarver's crewmen. Phil McPherson, the guy who rides in the white cap Toyota when it's being pulled back into the pits. The car actually flared up after it dropped a crank on that run, so the car was actually on fire. He hopped out and is still up here on the starting line, getting ready to go back to work. But later today, he is going to get checked out. Had a little bit of smoke inhalation in the lungs. He's complaining of that, but very narrowly escaped a pretty bad incident there.
Glad to know that he is going to be okay. Right now, I guarantee you, his driver is focusing on one and only thing, getting a win for him and the rest of the team.
You know, we talked about at the beginning of the show, Mario, conditions like this we haven't seen since Englishtown back in May. And incidentally, these two cars met in the final at that race, and Gary Densham got the win.
Well, here's another thing to think about. Gary Densham, Team Force's last hope. The last time a Team Force car wasn't in the final, Columbus back in June. And Alan Johnson with a 491 and 301, and Team Force is out of here. Dave Reef.
Well, first it was John Force, now it's that other Force car that was left. What a good day so far.
Well, I think they're all expecting us to run 475 out there, and it's not like we're not trying, but it just won't stay hooked up. That's 2 times in a row it spun the tires, so we're going to have to fix it down there. It's just got too much power.
I run 75s, though, and a 91 will do, Parker.
Well, Dave, earlier in the year, Corey Mack's car had a big engine explosion at Memphis. Part of the shrapnel took out a chunk of the leading edge of the rear wing. They sent the wing back to Indianapolis. They had a carbon fiber expert repair it. The repair held up well right up until today. They rolled the car to the start line up against Rhonda Hartman-Smith, realized the patch was loose. They sent Corey Mack anyway. And boy, were they lucky that he was able to come out of the throttle when he did. So they're replacing the rear wing, and they'll be ready for the next round.
Well, let's take a look at the matchup. 485 gives Dale Worsham the lane choice over Bruce Sarver. And we've got Pro Stock and the Factory Hot Rods in the semifinals coming up next here at the Texas Motorplex. Time for semifinals in Pro Stock. Jeg Coughlin against Jim Yates. Remember the last time these two guys met? Back at the U.S. Nationals. And a hole shot for Jeg. He runs a 695 to the quicker, but losing 693. In fact, Jim has not beaten Jeg in 2002. This will be their 5th matchup, and Jeg has tattooed him 3 times on hole shots this year alone.
And Jim Yates remembers that. But another thing that we have to remember, since Maple Grove, Jim Yates' lights have been considerably better. So he's been working on it, and hopefully he'll be able to cut a good light and give him a good race.
The last round, Jim Yates a 420 light. Jeg Coughlin a 422 light. That's how close these guys are right now. Jeg is pre-staged. Yates now pulls in. Points implications are huge for Yates. Here we go. Clock is running. 68 points separate these two. Jeg's in. Red light. Yates gives it away. And Jeg goes 686. Yates had him. A 684 at 201. Would have beaten him, but he goes red. And as Jeg coasts on out, let's go to Bill with Bruce Harper.
No fire, no lava, no anti-gravity material. I mean, just a straight 491.
Yeah, but I was cringing there at the finish line if it was going to come apart or not. No, it just spun the tires, and, I over-rev it, but I wasn't going to lift. But this white cap Toyota Mackel Tools car, we're going to go another round. We just need a little more Powerade in that motor. We'll be right there, man.
You're going to win a race today?
I hope so. It's about time. We've been in 4 of these now, and come up short for funny little things, but I think our gremlins are out here, so we're out of here. Thanks.
Well, as you go back to the starting line, we can tell you the points lead now for Jeg Coughlin over Jim Yates is 88 and 176 over third place Greg Anderson. That could have been a big nail in the coffin. Kurt Johnson, though, this guy has lowered the track record twice. He now holds the second and third fastest speeds ever in the sport of pro stock.
Kurt Johnson has never looked better than he has at this race.
He ran 2:04.03 last round. Gene cuts a 419 light in that right lane. And the win goes to Gene Wilson in a hole shot. 684 at 2:02 to Kurt Johnson's quicker but losing 682 at 203 miles an hour.
Boy, what a great race. Gene Wilson needed that 419 light. That was the difference at the finish line. Kurt Johnson coming on strong with that big top end, 203 miles an hour, but it wasn't enough. By 17 ten-thousandths of a second, Gene Wilson got the win.
And take a look at the crew reaction saying, oh my goodness, boys, we're going to the finals. And it's going to be a rematch from Memphis. Let's go to Bill.
Well, Greg Anderson couldn't do it. Jim Yates couldn't do it. And at the last race, Gene Wilson couldn't do it. He's got another shot at you, Jeggy.
Well, we're very fortunate to get by Jim on that round. He was a little anxious, obviously, and, our car had just violent tire shake. I don't think we've had that in probably 10 races. And, I know this Team Jake's gang's going to get this baby fired up for me and Gene here in the final, and we'll just keep on rolling.
Let's take a look at the matchup now, and it'll be with the lane choice, Gene Wilson by 2/100ths of a second over Jeg Coughlin. And let's go back to Bill.
Jim Yates had a shot, but it was a little too quick, Jim. And we talked earlier this weekend about how much work you've been doing on your reaction times and what great lights you've been cutting, but that time just a little too quick.
I just got shook up there, I guess. I knew it was a tough race, had a lot of pressure to try and win, but we tried not to let that get to us all weekend. We just go up there and do our best and let the cards fall, and driver just let the team down. We know Jeggy's tough. He's done a great job all year, but we sure wanted that win right now. We need to pick up a round on him, not give up a round.
That was critical.
It really was, and the finals are up next when we return to the O'Reilly Fall Nationals. For the finals, time to hand out the Wallies. In Pro Stock, will it be Jeg Coughlin or will it be Gene Wilson picking up his first ever statue? And there is Gene. He's going to be in the right-hand lane. He's got the lane choice. And word, Jeg Coughlin late to the line, Parker?
Very late, Marty. It's a good thing he's a consummate professional. At the very last moment, they were airing the tires, pulling the air intake scoop off, getting him buckled in. He is going to have to get focused in a very short amount of time.
So we don't know exactly why, but right now, Jeg trying to put a stranglehold on the championship. Red light, Gene Wilson. And a 682 for Jeg.
Excellent job. Excellent job. Your 682 to his 683, which didn't make much difference, but you ran 202, 30, 26. Excellent job.
Good work, guys. Man, way to rebound after that last round. I think I made a clean shift there, and just what a weekend, man. Heck of a job. We took out the two big guns there, second and third round, and we just need to keep riding this high, boys. Good job.
Take a look again. The points lead is now 108.
Well, Jeg Coughlin, unbelievable. Here's why Gene Wilson red-lighted. Jeg Coughlin, 421 light, 422, 416, and a 414 in the final round. He knew he was going to have to get a good light. Unfortunately, he pushed the tree a little bit too close. Jeg, you see there, going through the gears, making the perfect shift. He is just tough to beat.
7 out of the last 10 races, that man right there has won. And he now holds the same amount of a point lead in Pro Stock that Larry Dixon holds over Kenny Bernstein. And we'll talk to him in just a moment. Next up, though, it is Funny Car. What about Bruce Sarver? Will he get his first win in the Toyota? Or will it be Del Worsham? There is the Checker Shucks Cragen machine. And let's quickly go to the far end. Bill?
Back in 2000, when Jeg Coughlin won his first Pro Stock championship, he won 6 out of the first 7 races. Jeggy, it looks like you're going to end this season that way.
Man, we certainly hope so. You know, this Team Jake's just pulled together phenomenally well in the Chevy Cavalier to run as well as it has the last several months. And you know, my driving today was just, I was extremely pleased with it. I kind of goofed up there in the semis, but we got away with it when Jim turned it red. And you know, we knew Gene would be tough. The Mopar gang's been doing a heck of a job, but I think the fans got what they bargained for here at the O'Reilly Nationals. It was awesome.
Let's go to Dave.
Gene, you know you had to take a chance at it. 383 red, though, not going to get it done.
No, I tell you, I thought my light was going to be good. Didn't take any shots at the trees or anything. Just really pumped up. You got to make good runs when you run against Team Jegs over there. And want to thank Mopar and David Nickens, all the people standing behind me. And we had a heck of a weekend, and we just look forward to going to the next race.
You saw Sarver have problems right off the line. 319 miles an hour. And Dell, win number 11. 4th here in 2002. And in the points championship, he's now 3rd. Parker?
Well, Chuck Worsham, I know you lost your favorite supercharger yesterday in qualifying. You and Dell guessing, trying to get more out of this car. And sometimes it just goes your way.
You know, we were like fishing without a hook on the thing until the last couple of rounds. Finally figured it out. I mean, what a great day for us in Checker Shucks and Cragen. And say hi to my wife. She says I never say hi to her on TV, so now I have. I love you. Just a great day for us. Thanks.
I love you with a win, Marty.
And let's go back, take another look.
Well, like Chuck said, this was a great day for both him and his son, Dell. Both cars left identically at the same time. You see, Bruce Sarver smoked the tires. He tried to pedal it right away, backfired the supercharger like we've seen a number of times today. See that first panel go flying in the air when he tried to get back on there. But Dell Worsham, man, nice run. It took him a couple runs to get that supercharger figured out like they said, but they got a handle on it. There you see it. Bruce Sarver, as soon as he tried to pedal it, it did not like that. Supercharger blew up. Dell Worsham here on the other hand, nice and clean, into the winner's circle. Great job for that team.
Take a look at the points, and Del Worsham moves up 1 ahead of Gary Densham. He's 189 back. Of course, it's still 13 between John and Tony with 2 races to go. And I know he's more worried about the points, but guess what? Bill, Dell has just passed our buddy Mike Dunn on the all-time win list in Funny Car.
And what a family album we have down here with Dell, the twins, and Connie. And you told me after the semifinals you're going to stop at the end of the track after you won and have them tow you in, and you're a man of your word.
I am. I'll tell you, I could have easily made that turn up, but I knew all the action was down here and all day long. You know, I had to deprive my sponsor of this TV time just I couldn't make it, but very excited. Checker Shucks, Craig and Pontiac and Valvoline, all of our sponsors, and my dad and the team, what a great job they did. We found a potential hazardous problem 10 minutes before the final. We fixed it. They did a great job, and I have no idea what it ran, but it won. Woo!
Right down the racetrack. All 4 runs today.
Well, we're going to shake the earth one more time. Will it be Corey McClenathan picking up his first win of the year, or will it be Doug Kalitta doing it again? There is Doug. He'll be over in the left lane. Corey Mack over in the right lane. Let's get an update from Parker.
Marty, remember, Corey Mack's team replaced that rear wing element. The profile of the wing itself is a little different, as are the rear wing end plates. Could that make a difference? Well, at 200 to 300 miles an hour, as dense as this area is, it could make hundreds of pounds of downforce difference. It could have a significant effect on this run.
This is a historic moment as well for NHRA Powerade Racing. This is the 500th Top Fuel event. 21 of those winners are on the grounds this year that have counted for 275 of those victories. Now, you said you had some information also on Doug Kalitta's problems from last round.
Well, in that previous run, they actually, when they slowed the tires, lost the clutch, caught on fire at the other end, burned all the wiring, basically had to replace everything from the cockpit on back. The main problem was they didn't get any data from that or any information from that particular run, so they don't know exactly why that thing smoked the tires. Could play into this final round.
Corey McClenathan, last time he won in a top fuel car was in the year 2000, right here. Doug Kalitta just trying to cap off the season. A win here puts him into 3rd in the points championship chase. He has been coming on strong the last few races. Here we go. You saw Corey Mack goes up in smoke, and Kalitta goes 458, 322 miles an hour. Parker.
Yahoo, Marty! Man, these guys are almost in tears. We're trying to catch up with Jim Oberhofer. Jim, 3 out of 4, man.
Oh, man, I don't know what to say. This Mack Tools team's done a great job. And John Aiden, Roger Speed, Jennifer Hanley, we love them back there at Mack Tools and all them distributors. And Redline Oil, Champion Spark Plugs, what can we say, man? It was a great day for us. Thanks.
Want to see some passion in racing? Look no farther than this team.
Well, Doug has just picked up his 11th career victory. And there is Connie as a 458. They saved the best till last.
Well, they may not have any information from the previous run, but obviously that didn't hurt them. That car ran very good. Connie Kalitta ran for a number of years without a computer. He knows how to do it. We saw it looked like the side panel, one of the side pods actually came off the car on Doug Kalitta's just before the finish. Corey McClenathan here, you see the tires shake. Started cupping the tire, lost that contact area, went into tire smoke. Just wasn't aggressive enough on the tune-up for the final round.
There is Doug comes flying through the screen. And let's go to the far end to Bill.
Well, you certainly improved your cockpit ventilation, Doug Kalitta, but it didn't matter. 458, and you guys are peaking here as the season winds down.
Yeah, I tell you, it's really great for the whole Mack Tools team. John Aiden, everybody back with the distributors with Mack Tools and Redline Oil, Champion Spark Plugs. We're just happy to be here. I tell you, it's great, having a late season charge with, Connie and Jim O and the whole team. They're working real hard on this thing, and we got some momentum. We're hoping to keep it going.
Woo! Data? We don't need no stinking data.
You better believe it. A 456, 2 458s. Only that semifinal run was where they had their one blip of the day, and it didn't hurt them. There's the point difference. Doug Kalitta moves into 3rd, and Tony Schumacher follows with Corey Mack in 5th. Some of the celebration going on, and we'll come back to close it out here at the Motorplex. Okay, here's our schedule for 2 weeks in Las Vegas. While you jot down the times, let's quickly go back into the pits, get one final update on Ron Capps' condition after his horrific accident. Here's Parker.
Marty, I wanted to check in one more time with Ron Capps. And Ron, from the last time that we saw you an hour and a half ago, you look a lot better. Looks like you're feeling a lot better. Had to give you a little advice on the ice, though, because in IndyCar, we crash a lot more than you funny car drivers do, but you're looking good.
Yeah, my mom always told me to put clean underwear on. It's a good thing because you guys came up here, but yeah, thanks for the ice updates because they're pretty banged up, and I haven't had to do this very often, but my head is hurting a little bit, and my knees are banged. We destroyed the body, but other than that, Skull Guy's already working on getting things for Vegas, but What a deal! And I'm ready to watch a super slow-mo here to see what happened, because everybody else has told me it's pretty crazy, and I had a block view of it, so I couldn't see anything. But one of those deals, you're going to go through it as a funny car driver sometime in your career, and you just hope it doesn't happen. But when it did, man, it's a heck of a ride.
You going to make any changes to the cockpit now?
Yeah, like I said before, Snake he's an advocate, a lot like the IndyCar guys. We're going to try and put some braces in there like you guys used to have. We're trying to keep the legs covered and protected, because if you look at a funny car driver, and Mike Dunn can tell you, you sit in there and all you can see is your knees right there, and they're really they're subjected to really anything that's going to happen. They're not protected. So I think you're going to see Murph McKinney try to put something together and try and protect that area.
Hemingway once said there are only 3 real sports: bullfighting, rock climbing, and motorsports. The rest, well, they're just mere games.
All right, just one more reminder, NHRA Today next Sunday at noon. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. We'll see you in 2 weeks.